You are listening to episode 87 on the Air Hug Community Podcast. Hello there and welcome or welcome back. If you are new here, this is the Air Hug Community Podcast and I am your host, Judy Arizosa. I am a midlife lady who is someone who loves to share stories from myself and special guests that reflect on just how midlife really goes, not how we think it should go. We talk about the good, the bad, the messy, the ugly, the wonderful, all the emotions. And this is a place where we actually can grow from our experiences. So, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. Okay, can we start out with a little confession? So, the first day of spring at the time of this recording is just a couple days away, and I give myself a deadline to put away my air quote winter trees before winter is over so that we can move on to kind of a spring kind of look in our house. So, by winter trees, I mean trees that are winter. So I have trees that I have, a couple tablescapes and mantelscapes. And they're not Christmas trees. Well, technically a couple of them are because they have stars on top. But they're more like winter decorator trees. And I really like them. I'm also really lazy about putting them away and then deciding what to do for spring. So I have the deadline. I have to do it. I'm recording this on a Friday. I have to do this. It's kind of a mental deadline I gave myself before the weekend is over. So I'm going to hold myself to it. You can hold me to it too. But anyways, okay, so a no contest is what we're talking about today. Let's get started, shall we? So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to talk about why I don't believe in challenges. And I know challenges are all the rage. There's 21-day challenges or a lot of month-long challenges, and I see them a lot on social media. And I think what they just do is frustrate people. I think they're a recipe for, especially fitness challenges, can be a recipe for injury because people often get caught up on, well, I'm going to do 22 push-ups every day if it kills me. And a lot of times it does. People just end up with, an injured shoulder, or I'm going to do 50 squats a day for a month. And I used to think they were innocent and they would actually be motivators. But what I've seen over years and years of people doing this and getting involved in them is that they're not motivators. Maybe they feel good if they've done it, but more often than not, what I see is that people kind of just forget about it and don't do it. It doesn't really serve as a motivator. And I actually have seen also some people ended up injured because they're just doing these things fast and furious and trying to check a box versus actually, as far as fitness goes, do the work to get fit. But a lot of what we talk about here is so applicable for personal development, for fitness, for a nutrition mindset. And you know what? The common denominator is it is mindset. And what I like to say, I'm going to go out on record as saying that mindset is the best motivator. So when you declare, for example, that you love yourself, are you sick of me saying that yet? Because this surfaces in many, many different episodes. And if I say something repeatedly, it's because I believe in the value of it. And so when you know and practice that you love yourself, you're putting yourself into a frame of mind that's going to be self-motivating. And the only true motivation is intrinsic. So yes, you can get motivated. It might be a little catalyst by looking at external things like maybe someone else's affirmations on social media or anything that you see out in your life that doesn't come from within your own heart and brain. So it's really interesting because people are like, I'm just not motivated. Well, that's a decision. that you have made to not be motivated. And yes, do we feel like getting up every day and prepping food and washing dishes and cooking dinner and doing the workout, driving to the workout when it's dark out, which might be happening more if we stay on daylight savings time, but there's an upside to that, but that's another conversation. Yeah, you have to actually own your motivation and make a decision yourself to do it. And I actually love this because guess what? It gives you ownership and it gives you something that you can control. And don't we all like to control our existence, right? We love to have a control. And so I just love this, and I think it's very important to get on board with it. I have talked about 5 steps of motivation so many times in the past, 5 years, with starting with, and these are all things that I've taken from lectures from Les Brown, and I'll do a quick review of them. Maybe you're tired of hearing them, or maybe you've never heard them, or maybe you've forgotten and you're like, what are they again? We need to all believe that what we want to do is possible. That's number 1. Number 2, we need to believe it's necessary. Number 3, we have to own the fact that it's our responsibility to do those things. Number 4, we actually have to give credit to the fact that these things are hard. Doing something different, making a change is hard. And number 5, we have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's worth it. I have said this over and over again. I think there's an entire podcast probably dedicated to it at this point. If you scroll back and see, I can't remember, but it's back there. Maybe I'll put it in the show notes. But these things, they haven't changed. They're solid. And your mindset is up to you. It is all you. It's number 3. It's all you. It's your responsibility. And you have to cultivate your own motivation. But here's something that a mindset actually likes. Get a mindset that loves to prepare so that you can't be full of excuses. So you've all heard this before, right? Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And I'm not saying you always, let's talk about food prep. I'm not saying you always have to food prep, but part of your preparation would be a strategy to have in place for a day where you don't have time or energy to food prep. So you have a plan B. What can you do? And you can think of, well, if I really want to eat in a way that serves my body best, but I don't feel like cooking today, what's my strategy? And you can come up with that on your own, because if I give you my strategy, then it's not coming from you. You need to find your own. So, or how do we stay active when we're traveling for work, right? We have a great plan for when we're home, but what do? You have a strategy, and that strategy could be a number of things. It could be maybe you take a rest week and you're just actively walking, or something else that suits you, but it's up to you. So motivation gets you started, and getting a spark to get your motivation started from an external source is great, but ultimately what keeps that fire going is you, and you do have to own it. And then what keeps you going is your behaviors that turn into habits. And this is something that I can't stress enough. You have to get on board with loving your habits. And that's what motivation is. It's loving your habits. Oh, I get to work out today. I get to go grocery shop and meal plan today, right? I get to do these things versus I have to do these things. And so this is just a quick reminder that you have it in you. You have it in your heart. And when you decide that it's important enough, then you will find the motivation. If you don't see the value in what it is that you need to do to make your life your best life, if you don't see the value in it, if you don't think it's going to make your life better, then you aren't going to do it. But if you buy into it wholeheartedly, this is important to me, this is going to change the trajectory of my future, then you'll do it. It's the same thing with saving money. If you believe, right, that saving money is going to be better than spending money now, then you're going to go with the delayed gratification, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about today. It's a quickie. I sometimes call this an in a nutshell version, but I just thought it was time for people to get a little refresher on this. So have a good week, and I will see you right back here next Tuesday on the Air Hug Community Podcast. So I am going to take care of those winter trees. I've made up my mind. My mindset is firm on that one.